Hey everybody, it's Kelly from My Soulful Home. I thought I'd take you on a tour of my kitchen today. You might be spending a lot of time in your kitchen. I certainly am spending a lot of time in mine. So I dressed it up for spring and I thought I'd invite you over to have a look around. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, subscribe to my channel. Now that you've had a look all around the kitchen for springtime, I thought we'd go into a little bit more detail about the different areas in the kitchen. So this spot is really useful. I was able to tuck it in between the freezer and the refrigerator because each of my units are separate. There are a couple of companies that make those, and I just love that whole idea. So you don't have a big expanse of either stainless or the fully integrated panels, and it allows you to create a little nook like this. So in here we have what would pass for our coffee station. I'm not a coffee drinker, but my husband is, and I've gotten him using a French press, which I think looks really gorgeous. And you don't have all of the filters or those little nasty little cups going into the landfill. I'm a tea drinker, so I have my tea tucked away in those two pitchers. The one in the back is for, occasional teas, and the one in the front is for the ones that I drink every day. And I love this very old pitcher. I was able to actually get 2 of them. I couldn't believe I scored a pair. Whenever you can see something that's in a pair, you're gonna regret it if you don't get both. So go for it if you can. Behind it is, again, another pair. It's a set of Sears cookbooks that I tucked in there because I love the green for the spring. I removed some other vintage cookbooks that I had back there. You may have seen those before if you watched my channel. So this is our little coffee tea section, toasters tucked in there, and just to give some texture, I put that tray behind there, the round tray, and that's obviously just for decoration. So just on the other side of the fridge and the freezer is this area in the kitchen that I was able to tuck in this really comfy chair. Initially, I had this very overblown vignette with bistro chairs and baskets and I don't know, all kinds of stuff over there. And it did nothing, and it actually looked like it was had a little store set up in my kitchen. Decided one day, wow, what if I put a chair there? If you put a chair there, maybe they will come. Well, sure enough, they did. And they keep showing up. My kids, my dogs, my husband, even I sit there sometimes. It's a wonderful addition to the kitchen. So if you can squeeze a comfortable chair, even a poof or something like that into your kitchen, I think that you're really going to find that it gets a lot of use and you get a lot of visitors. They might not clean up, but they'll at least talk to you while you're doing it. And then this goose, well, she followed me home from an estate sale one day. I just think she's absolutely adorable. I couldn't leave her there. I don't know, maybe she was in someone's garden or something like that, but she's a cute addition to the little bit that I do for Easter and spring decor. So this is the kitchen at springtime. So I brought in greens and yellows and lots of plants, and these pillows I love. I cannot remember where I got the crewel work one from, but the one in front is from Bella Notte, and the grain sack that I have tossed over the back here is from my friend Susan at Dunn Designs, and you should check out her Etsy shop. I'll put the link in the show notes. I love these French canisters. I bought them for myself one Christmas, and they house things like batteries and rubber bands and just various things. So using beautiful items for storage is a great idea. Let's see if we can get one more smile out of Edith. Edith, say hi to everybody. Obviously, everything, and the kitchen sink. Here's my kitchen sink. It's a Shaw farmhouse style sink. I haven't had the best experience with it, but I still wouldn't trade it. So I have a post about that. I can link that in the show notes below, but let's not talk about chips and dings right now. Let's just look at the beautiful things. So forsythia, I love forsythia. It reminds me of growing up. There were giant forsythia bushes around my yellow Cape Cod that I grew up in, so those brings back nice childhood memories. I found those at Trader Joe's recently, and boy, can't we all just use some flowers right now. And then some white ranunculus, which are, really kind of like tiny little peonies. So if you love peonies and you can't get them, or you can't get them yet, try some ranunculus. And so that's another one of these decor hotspots. So I have this vintage breadboard that I keep there, and then I just change it out. I'll always have a big vase, a medium size, and then something small. Sometimes it's a candle. Right now it's this ironstone gravy boat. And there's a mirror. I always have mirrors in every room. I actually have 2 mirrors in the kitchen. And I changed out the little piece of art that I keep between the windows. I usually had a hand-painted art palette there, but switched out for botanical for the spring. And I kind of like how those, which I think are really roses, or perhaps a camellia. No, they're roses, looking close. Kind of echoes what's going on with the ranunculus. And that giant platter I just got recently, we're gonna go over and have a closer look at that. I wanna tell you about that type of dishware because I just love it, and maybe you guys would like it too. Sliding on down the counter. As some of you would know because you've been watching or you read my blog, I do have Carrara marble countertops, and I also use slabs of Carrara going up as my backsplash. I have no outlets. Do you see not an outlet to be seen because they're tucked up under there. It's called a plug mold, and you can do it too. I have a whole blog post on that, and I can explain that all to you in writing. I will put a link down below. But I don't like the look of outlets, but I like to plug in lamps. So here's another little lamp tucked into the corner. Again, just adding that touch of spring. Boxwood, I pruned my boxwoods the other day. They look fantastic. They were all this green growth, but they were getting a little too bushy, and that's a problem for boxwood. So I will put a link to a post that I did about how you prune boxwoods and other tight growing evergreen shrubs down below, so you can take a look. And lemons, what an easy way to decorate for summer, spring, just adding that touch of yellow that I love. Here's my stove. Oh, how I love you, my stove. Was left here, had to be refurbished, but works like a charm, and I cook on it every night, sometimes a couple times a day. The top shelf is a really nice place to put some things. Obviously, I wouldn't put things that are flammable, although I do have a little wood cutting board up there, but it doesn't get too hot up there anyway. So I have some forsythia that were just the extra little cuttings I had to cut off the bottom of the branches so they weren't submerged in the water. So instead of tossing them away, I put them in that little white pitcher. I have cooking on the stove right now, a lot of orange peels, which are making the house smell terrific. We're eating so many citrus right now, sort of 'tis the season, plus great to get all that vitamin C nowadays. And then again, some cuttings, some ivy cuttings from the garden, and I'm trying to root them in there. So hopefully that works out. I love this little 3-tiered table. It's rickety. It's probably on its last legs. You can't really move it too well, but I love it. I love being able to display my various pieces of porcelain, china, crockery, whatever you want to call it. And then at the bottom, I have a basket, and that is filled with the cloth napkins that we use for dinner all the time. And the top is just a great place for me to create a little vignette. I love having lamps in the kitchen, so I have 2 lamps, and this is the one that I will light first at night just to cozy it up. And it's a great spot to put the flowers that I might be picking up at Trader Joe's or picking from the garden, and then just toss in a stack of books and a little something seasonal on the top, and you've got a really great vignette. So I change this, pretty frequently. This is one of those hot spots that I talk about throughout my house where I'll just change it up on a whim or for the season, add a pop of color. And so I encourage you to find places in your house where you can do that as well to make decorating really easy. I love decorating with nests at springtime. Absolutely the perfect time to pull out your nest or make one out of moss. You can buy the moss that you would normally put in a planter, and you can just form your own nest. But I did see some that were very similar to this one at Cost Plus World Market, and I could put the link to those in the show notes. Add a couple of little eggs that you can pick up at any sort of craft store, or you can hollow out real eggs and spray paint them. I did that and spray painted mine gold. What a surprise. But I can link the blog post and where you have the tutorial to doing that, so you can make some golden eggs as well. No goose required. I've started collecting this type of dish. I also have a tureen, which I'll show you in a minute. I just love it. I have definitely a palette of a lot of white and black going on in my house, and I love Transferware. This, I understand, it's kind of like a flow blue, but it's flow black. Some of the pieces are really distinctly that flow look. Other ones are a little bit more distinct. Now I understand that this is often referred to as mulberry because it may have been at one time a little bit more purpley, but it went to gray. That's one of my dealers at the Rose Bowl has told me that. I bought a few pieces that I'm showing you here from her. And then I just found this platter. Oh my gosh. I had to go for a client to some obscure little locksmith somewhere in an area of town I had really never been into. And lo and behold, there was a little thrift store. And the magnetic flow pulled me in, and then I walked out with this. And I cannot even tell you what a deal it was. So absolutely love it. So I'm learning more about this type of china and the various patterns. So if anybody who's watching knows anything about it, do tell. I have a table in the center of the kitchen, not an island. I just think a table for my taste is much more approachable than an island. I think it's more comfortable to sit on chairs, or actually 2 chairs and 2 stools that I tuck right under. The stools give us a little more access to the sink and whatnot. It is a very nice sized kitchen. It's the biggest kitchen I've ever had, but it's by no means extra large. So this is the table we sit around and eat dinner at almost every night. Occasionally we'll eat in the dining room, which you can see in the background there. But normally we just cozy in here because it's usually, the 4 of us, or sometimes somebody's off doing something. It's just 3 or 2. So this is a perfect spot. Here's that tureen I was telling you about. I got that at the Rose Bowl from another one of my favorite vendors, and it's just a really, really special piece. I'm thrilled to have it. Oftentimes it lives in the living room, but I thought I'd bring it in here for spring. These linen dish towels I got from a company that I really love called Muji. It's kind of like a Japanese lifestyle brand. They have clothes, they have things for your kitchen, they have bedding. And these were very reasonable priced. I picked them up at Christmas time when I was buying some gifts. And these are these French knives that I love. And we have talked about these on the podcast as well. They're not very expensive, but are they not gorgeous? And little basil from the garden, actually. I did not grow from seeds, but I had a basil plant I bought at the grocery store and tucked it in, and it's doing really nicely. And you can see in the background that rickety little table. Oh, you can see the Alexa I put on the ground. And then always, if you can, tuck in a little lumbar, little tiny pillow. Really would make a seat like this bentwood chairs a lot more comfy. Thanks so much for coming by today. It was so much fun to have you over. I hope you enjoyed the kitchen tour. I certainly had fun showing you around. Let me know in a comment below something that you liked, maybe your favorite vignette or something that inspired you to get creative in your own home. And if you want more inspiration to get creative in your own home, you can watch my 30 lessons. There's a playlist on my channel that has 3 different videos with 30 lessons for becoming a better decorator. And certainly you can join me every Wednesday for a new episode of my podcast, Decorating Tips and Tricks. We'd love you to be joining us on that show and listening in and joining the DTT community. So thanks so much for coming by today. Let me know that you were here, leave a comment, and if you're enjoying my channel and the videos that I'm making for you, please subscribe. I would love to have you along at each and every time.